Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 170. My name is Weldon, and this is the show where you ask me questions. I am a sports psychology trainer, and I work primarily with professional esport athletes, from League of Legends to CSGO to, okay, that's basically it. But if you're a fighting game player and you want to dive into this realm of competitive mental mastery, just, hit me up. All right, today is story time. I got a couple questions related to things that I have done and things like mental blocks, life before mindfulness, drive, ambition, these kind of things. And they were more geared toward wondering how it was or what it was like to go through these experiences internally. And so today I'm going to share with you some of those facets, I would say. If you want to ask a question for the show, please go to anchor.fm/Weldon Green. This is the host place of the podcast, and it's where you can essentially get the app that you just pick up your phone and you click my face in the app and you click call in and you raise the phone to your head and it just records the question and then I play it on the show. And that is what I need. I need more questions. I need more audio questions from you guys. You are the lifeblood of this show. Obviously, if there's no questions, there's no show. Thank you. And the better questions we get, the better the show is. So even if you think you have a bad question, don't worry about it. Call it in, and if it's bad, I'll skip it, and I won't answer it on the show. Or I'll just message you. In the app, you can do audio messages back and forth with people. You can reply by text. So if I get a call in and it's just a quick response, I'll just toss it back to you if I can. Also, you can check out the full show on Twitch, twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon, where I am actually streaming this right now, live. Although I'm interacting with you, YouTube, not with Twitch right now. But before and after I record the show, I'm full on with the Twitch audience. And you can ask any number of questions with follow-up questions, with details, dig into it, and really enjoy like hanging out for a nice hour and a half at 7:30 p.m. in Los Angeles time. I think because of the time zone change, that's where we're at. Might be 6:30 again in 2 weeks if you're watching the show from the future. All right, let's get into it. First question is from Ryan.
Hey Weldon, what was one of your mental blocks on your climb to Diamond and how did you overcome it?
All right, I'm going to play that again because I just got my headphones on.
Hey Weldon, what was one of your mental blocks on your climb to Diamond and how did you overcome it?
All right, what was one of my mental blocks on my climb to Diamond and how did I overcome it? So for those of you who don't know, in 2014 summer, I've been playing League of Legends for a year or 2 years, and I thought, okay, if I want to be a professional coach at this game, it's good to obviously have a master's degree in sports psychology and to be a traditional sports coach and to have coached swimmers who have swum in the Paralympics and the Special Olympics and coached on the team of people who have swum in the actual Olympics, although I was not anywhere near the head coach of that team. However, I don't know enough about League of Legends to feel like I can see people choking, see people tilting, see their body language from their avatars of what level they are in the skill to be able to say, A, you're not good enough, or B, you're choking, because that's essential, because people lie to themselves all the time. But as a sports psychology trainer, when you're embedded with the team and you know the sport, you can tell when people are lying and what their body says. You can tell what their body says, so you know when their words are correct or incorrect, right? So I wanted to get really, really good at the game. So I started training myself. I also wanted to test out my techniques because at this point I had just graduated 2012, and I was 2 years in, and I'd been coaching people individually, on the ladder, and I'd been coaching shortly, I think at the end of 2014. So after this climb to Diamond, I started coaching enemy esport for the first time, which was my first semi-pro client, I would say. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that this stuff worked, so I thought, well, I should coach myself. So I did. I coached myself up to playing in Diamond MMR, and all the way up until I basically got the job with enemy esport, and then I was too busy. And I did it in an interesting way. I played 2 games per day maximum, I believe, except maybe on the weekends. I think I spammed a little bit more, but I played 2 games per day, and I studied super hard You know what? I think I might have done this in 2012. This is a really bad story time, you guys. But I'm thinking back and I'm like, did I have a kid yet? No, I so had the kid. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is after I had the kid. So this is definitely 2014. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Got my timelines mixed up there. I was just remembering playing these games and I was like, I don't feel like I had a kid. But then I remember that was the reason why I chose to play 2 games and limit myself to 2 games, because it was after the baby fell asleep and it was after the infant time. So they were a baby and I couldn't play at night because I'd be sitting there holding the baby, and I was like, kind of hard to play with just one hand. And so then the baby learned to fall asleep and started falling asleep at like 8. So then I would actually have free time, right? Like maybe an hour or 2 before the baby woke up, but I would never have enough free time, because they wake up every 4 hours or something. So I could never play a bunch of games. And so I was really frustrated, and I was like, all right, I need to grind up on 2 games. I need to be, because what happens is the baby wakes up in the middle of the game and I have to ditch the game. Bad news, right? And I would get the evil eye from my wife if like the baby's crying and I'm looking over at her and she's looking at me like I'm not getting out of bed, and I'm like, oh. Yeah. So I didn't want to fail my teammates, by abandoning Q. Not Q, literally abandoning the game, AFKing. Riot kind of frowns on that, but I don't think they have a lot of fathers with infants who still want to play League of Legends. All right, so anyway, here I was, 2 games a day, and I did really a lot of prep going into the games. So I made sure that I had goals going into every single game, things I wanted to practice. I made sure I was one-tricking so that I could get rid of learning a champion and just learn the game. I made sure that I reviewed my VODs of every single mistake that I felt was very impactful and important after the game. And and just structured everything, how to plan, had it on paper, wrote down my mistakes. It wasn't on paper, it was on a text document on my computer. I played on a really crummy Mac. Luckily, they had just released like the Mac beta or something. And that was it. Just straight up beasted it out. Learned a ton about the game. Got to Diamond. Mental blocks. I actually didn't have any mental blocks. I think the biggest, like as far as my learning. So normally people are going to plateau. And I did plateau like in silver for years. Like I was only ever silver when I was playing. I queued into silver like the first time I ever played League of Legends because I played Dota for like 10 years. So I knew the game. So it was easy for me to just be silver. And then I was just there up until I decided to climb. And then I climbed from silver to diamond with this. And I basically didn't hit any bumps along the way. My bump was diamond. Like I plateaued at plat 3, diamond 5 MMR for a while until I just like grounded out at the end to like be done. And then I quit. And I focused only on analysis, VOD analysis, and strategy analysis after that, and I stopped playing completely. I think the biggest mental block I had was this whole time limit of stopping after 2 games, whether I was winning or losing. The biggest mental block I had was that I had to finish the game on a victory. I was so frustrated when I lost. I'd be like, no, I can't go to sleep. I would lay there in bed, replaying the game over and over again and all the nasty things people said about me in my like 0-7 Ezreal, and I'd just be like wishing and regretting every single mistake that I made and super pissed, and I would want to erase it all by playing a new game and like carrying 42-0 on Ezreal and just being like, I'm good. Like, see? To myself and to the world, right? And the reason I dictated that I would only play ever 2 games a day was because I needed to break out of that spiral of uncontrollable adrenaline seeking. And I needed to accept my level, right? I needed to accept that this game, this crappy 0-7 Ezreal game where I fed and lost, was me and not an aberration that I wanted to replace with a better game. And so I forced myself to play the second game, and no matter how bad it was, even if I went like 0-13 Darius top versus whatever, and like inted the game for my team and totally lost it for them, or like whether or not I had a 7-0 Akali mid, and I say all this one-tricking stuff, but I actually did play a lot of different champions, I guess. I one-trick champions for like straight. I would just like play Akali mid and only Akali mid for like a couple weeks, and then I would switch it up. I went through all these phases. But anyway, yeah, whether I was a 7-0 Akali and then just like my team was sucking and I was trying to carry, and then I made the one mistake, in the late game team fight when I was trying to freaking end the game because my team was not doing anything, and then I lost the game instead. So I would force myself to stop. Second game, done. And then I would have to go to sleep. So I had to learn to process all of this frustration and rage, and then I learned to do that. And and I used my master's in sports psychology to do so. And then I started doing gratefulness conditioning and mindfulness because it was way better than anything I learned in my master's degree in sports psychology. Unfortunately for them, it just kind of taught me useless stuff. Some of which I use now. I'm certainly the research and the research reading, but the techniques are all from more advanced stuff that I learned since then while working with elite athletes. Yeah, so that would be my largest stumbling block, I would say. My largest mental block was just like solo queue rage, frustration with teammates, wanting to never quit on a loss because I couldn't handle it in my sleep. And I conquered all of that by setting a hard limit to 2 games and then forcing myself to learn how to cope with the contrast between reality and what I wanted reality to be, which is the source of pain. And I just accepted it and swallowed it. It's like, all right, the reality is what reality says. Like, I am the 07 Ezreal. Can't change that right now. Can only change that tomorrow in my first game. So I better really care about that first game tomorrow and try hard. And that, I think, was the fuel and the motivation for my climb, was that focus and that desire to not feel that pain anymore. All right, great question. Let's jump into question number 2, shall we?
Hey, Weldon, I have kind of an interesting question regarding mindfulness and your personal experience with it. I was curious about how your life was or how you perceived it before you started practicing mindfulness and the major differences you've noticed since you started. Thank you so much.
All right. Fantastic question. Okay, thank you, Brandon. So, what was my life like before mindfulness, and what are the things that I noticed that has impacted me since I started it? I started my mindfulness training in, I think, 2013. It was after my master's degree in sports psychology, which I did from 2010 to 2012 in Finland. I'm originally from Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, by the way. And I came to Finland because they haven't invented tuition yet. I was like, what? I can get a free master's degree? Hello, sign me up. So I came here, and afterwards I needed something more powerful. Like, I was trying and I was writing about all these techniques in StarCraft 2, and I was playing StarCraft 2 and I was blogging about it, and they just were not comprehensive enough. So I was looking for a comprehensive system I could use to tackle athletic performance enhancement in esport. And so this researcher, who I respect incredibly, who wrote the book on emotions in sport, literally it's called Emotions in Sport. Like, he's a foundational researcher in sports psychology. He's at my university, actually. I think he's still there. No, I think he's moved on. Anyway, he came out with like a comprehensive update to his eyes off model, and kind of was working on turning that into an intervention. And then I discovered a book by Gardner and Moore called The Psychology of Enhancing Human Performance, which was actually published in 2004. So I was totally unaware of it for the 2 years I was doing my degree. So this is 8 years, post-publication. And it was all about mindfulness. And I was like, wow, this stuff. I tried a couple centering exercises, and I was like, And I started doing it on Headspace kind of regularly after I listened to a Tony Robbins interview with Tim Ferriss, where Tony Robbins said that he walked around in the morning and did mindfulness and his connection with nature or something. It just, like, Tony Robbins is a good orator, right? And the way that he described his incredibly robust connection with his self that he obtained through mindfulness made me feel like this was kind of a crucial thing. And so I started, and at the time, I was walking into work, okay? And now let me paint you a picture here. I lived about 2.5 kilometers from the city center, and I would have to walk to work through the woods, more or less, kind of along a highway. And it was about a 30-minute walk, 30 to 40-minute walk. And for 2 years, I walked in every single day to university and back. Now, I live in Finland, so a lot of days it's raining, a lot of days it's minus 30 degrees. It doesn't matter. You just walk in. It's irrelevant what the weather is. There's no such thing as bad weather. There's just bad clothing, right? So I just dressed up. And I really needed my music or my podcasts. I needed something. So the entire time I was a student, I'd be listening to like Thorin on his his Twitch show. I'd have YouTube in my pocket, or I'd be listening to something like Monte Cristo casting, or I'd be listening to some long form esports content or something, or a podcast. Or I'd be listening to some music, But once I discovered podcasting, I kind of stuck with that. Or Twitch. When Twitch came out, holy cow, that was amazing. And then, and I remember this moment when I was at work one night, and I was on my way home, and I had forgotten or I had lost my headphones, and I was freaking out because I was facing a prospect of like a 35-minute walk with no audio, with like only myself to keep me company. And I literally like took the headphones out of my computer, and these like the kind that you use, the business headphones for Skype with the little stupid thing that like comes down in front of your mouth and it has like only one ear, and it has like a little plastic thing that goes over and sits right here. And I wore those the whole way home, listening to like a mono headset sound of some music or something like that. And I didn't realize this until later, but at that time, I was so terrified of spending time alone with myself that I couldn't handle it. And I didn't know that, right? I started doing mindfulness, and I would be walking to work. Okay, so this is after like 3 months of doing mindfulness. Basically, I was doing mindfulness about 10, 15 minutes a day on headspace.com. And I got about 3 months in, and I don't think that I was 100% every single day. I think it was like five-ish days a week I was doing it, in the morning mostly. And I remember walking into work one day, and I was listening to a podcast, and I was like, it was just too much noise. I was just like, I'm not even listening to this. So I switched to music. And I remember getting another maybe like 500 meters or like 700 meters. And I was just like, it's just too much noise. It was distracting me. And I turned it off. And in perfect silence, mental silence, and oral silence, aside from the cars, in the environment, I just like experienced reality for the next 20 minutes of the walk. Like I could feel my body, and I could feel my legs like moving, and I could feel my weight on the bottom of my feet. And I was just like, I was walking and thoughts were coming and they were going, and I was not attaching to them, and they were just kind of arising and fading, and I was just in the experience of my senses in this very sensual way. And sensual means with senses, right? It doesn't mean sexual. So I'm saying sensual way, meaning just like totally embodied within the touch and the taste and the sound and the smell of everything that was happening. And I got to the school where I was working at this time, and I realized that there was literally an infinite universe of experience in the present moment that was like unfolding at every single second. So overpoweringly full of experience, rich experience, that I could not get to the bottom of it. Any 1 second was so deep that it would take more than that second to fully experience. And so, but then I would have to move to the next one, the next now, and the next now, and now it's now again. And I was like trying to drown it out, with these podcasts and this music. And eventually it got so powerful that I could not do that anymore. It was like a gnat buzzing around your head, and you're like, get away, podcast, get away, music. And I was exposed to this entire world of experience, of like reality. And since then, I haven't really been able to listen to podcasts or music at the gym or walking or doing anything, because it interferes with living. And that's been my experience with mindfulness, is that it connected me with myself, and I'm able to have, yes, I do also have conversations with myself. So I will walk to work and I'll get lost in thought, but now I really enjoy that process of like following my thought, seeing where it goes, seeing what I think of. And I've learned to like love that kind of exploration. And at the same time, I can just step out of it and just have this massive fire hydrant of like raw sensory experience of reality just like blast me completely. And it's more kind of grounding and enjoyable and refreshing than any music I could ever listen to. It's like more real than any music. Like music is like a glimpse of like reality, right? It's trying to be a constructed structure of like a divine experience, in my opinion. That's why I listen to music. I try to listen to beautiful music. I don't mean like, not heavy metal. I mean beautiful music up to and including Dragon Force, But I feel like it's just kind of more raw to just tap into the divine like through your senses. But anyway, yeah, that was my experience with mindfulness. And after that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely how to focus and get flow state. And then I started doing walking mindfulness, which was really fun. I started applying mindfulness in stressful situations for high performance purposes. And since then, it's just been like a constant exploration of that principle of paying attention. All right, last question coming up. Before I answer this last question, everybody, I want to promote my MAC program. The MAC program is my training program in mindfulness. So you too can get this amazing experiences I'm talking about through Mindfulness Acceptance Commitment. It is a video training program. It is an online course. You purchase a login, you log in, you get access forever. Life. This is the third version. Everybody who's bought the first version is still here. Well, maybe they might not still be here because they might have finished the program, but they still have access. And everything that I update up to and including the fourth version, which is coming out in about 2 months, is included in this lifetime price. That's changing with the launch of the fourth version, of course, but you will have plenty of awareness about that if you follow my videos at all. So you will know that like when that kind of like model shift is coming. But anyway, that's for people who don't buy it. Those of you who do buy it, you're grandfathered in. Don't worry about it. 100% guarantee, because if you just satisfaction guarantee, it's not 100% going to work. It's 100% that you're going to be satisfied with it, or else I just give you your money back because I don't need your money. I'm supporting the development of the new program, so all of the money that I'm making here in this MAC program goes straight to the developer of the new program. But we're doing it piecemeal, right? It's not like you're contributing $1,000. You're contributing your penny towards it. Your $25 goes towards it, and that's great. But then the loss of one person who's unsatisfied and wants a refund isn't that grand in the great scheme of things. So if you're satisfied, you're satisfied. If you're not, email me, and there's a no risk guarantee for that for you. I don't know what else to say about it. What questions do you have? If you have questions about the show, hit me up in the comments down, or about the MAC program. Ask me below this video. As you can see on my YouTube channel, I pretty much reply to every comment. If I don't reply to it, it's because it wasn't a good comment, probably, or it was fine and I just thumbs upped it.
Hey Weldon, so I play a MOBA called Smite at a fairly high competitive level. I'm actually competing with the team in the league. It's just that recently I've failed to find enjoyment within Smite. Now I've played it for several years now and I've always had fun with the game. But getting on a day-to-day basis and focusing on trying to better myself and better the team and scrimming and practicing has become boring. Playing something like casuals or trying to play other titles has become a lot more attractive to me. It's almost like I'm lost, really. I've always enjoyed playing at that high level or doing something competitively, but I've kind of lost it. So I guess my real question lies within, how do you get that drive back once it's gone? How do you get that drive back to play something that you've always played? Thanks.
All right, John, thanks for the question. This is a doozy. So my general mantra is that I cannot install drive. I work with people who are already driven, right? I don't think I don't think it's very easy, the answer to your question, and it involves you mostly and your exploration of your own self and what you really want. And it could be that your drive was based on something that was satisfied, and now that that's satisfied, your drive is different and you don't know what it is yet. But my experience with motivation has been that you are motivated by the things that you're motivated by, and that is that. Done. So then you have to work on trying to fulfill your ambition, because you cannot modify or hack away at your drive. You just have your drive or you don't have it. And the things that you desire or you do not desire. And this is a result of your DNA combined with your environment, combined with your experiences, combined with your happiness and your satisfaction and your woke level or whatever you want to call it. And whatever experiences you've had in life make you want the thing that you want or not want the thing that you don't want, or don't want the thing that you don't want and do want the thing that you want. And then that's the end of that conversation. And then everything else is about trying to discover what your ambition is and then fulfill your ambition. So I would say, first off, do a lot of the quiet work necessary to discover what it is that you want. What is your ambition? And by quiet work, I mean you need to spend time in the sauna just thinking about your ambition. You need to spend time journaling. You need to imagine different scenarios of achieving different things and see what feels like, oh, that would be nice, and what feels like, I would die for that. Because there's a difference between, oh, that would be nice if, and I will literally walk out of the sauna now and start trying to achieve that thing and not stop until I do. That's drive, right? And then I think after you do that quiet work about trying to figure out where your ambition is pointed and what your performance framework is about that, then you need to start working on the kind of like acceptance of what that means for your current life. Maybe it takes you a while to build yourself out of professional Smite because you need to support yourself somehow while you're setting up for your next ambition. Maybe your next ambition is part of professional Smite, but not the playing part. So you need to go beyond. So you need to climb the ranks once again, and win some championships so that you can take the next step or something like that. But whatever it is, your ambition is then tied. Your ambition, then you need to do the work of tying your ambition to your daily actions, whether that is to quit what you're doing on a daily basis so you can follow your ambition, or whether that is so that you can fulfill your daily obligations so that you can achieve your ambition. But whatever it is, you have to stitch the two together, the stitching work. But yeah, that quiet exploration comes first. Mindfulness helps with that, although really what you need is a lot of reflection and journaling and maybe talking to people who know you well. Who know you well, not who know you, the Smite player, well, who know you as the person well from before, and who you can ask for honest advice about, like, what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I want to do? Like, what am I motivated by? When you see patterns, like what happened? Why did I lose my motivation to this? Where did it go to? Because it's somewhere. Going back to the storytime theme of the show, I basically procrastinated and was unmotivated my entire life up until I was 30-ish, 31, 32 or something. Yeah, 30-ish. And then I discovered esport and esport coaching, and I was like, holy cow, this is a thing? And all of a sudden I had motivation and drive, and I didn't procrastinate anymore. I literally quit playing computer games that day and spent the next 4 years building my brand and reading research and coaching in all of my free time. It's crazy. I never, ever could do that with anything my entire life because I honestly didn't care. But once I discovered what my motivation was, my ambition was, I didn't even have to think about application. Just did it. Yeah, that's not true. Because then, there were a lot of different hurdles that I had to tackle, and I still procrastinated, and I still had to amp myself up sometimes for pressure, and had to do all these things. But it was fun work, and it was easy work. It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't kind of like what you're describing, where you kind of have to do it as an obligation. But I do really bad with that. I found out that I'm pretty unemployable, actually. I do so bad with obligation. But anyway, that's the answer to your question. If you want to really dig into this kind of quiet work, I think the good place to start is values, and values exploration, where you write a story of what you have achieved and how you have achieved it over, so then the end of the year, somebody's telling you or telling an audience about your life this year and what you achieved and how you achieved it, what kind of person you are that achieved it. And then the end of your, I want to say career, maybe in 5 years, and somebody's writing an autobiography about you, and they're describing who you were when you achieved what you did, like what kind of person you were, how you achieved what you did, because how you did it is far more important than what you do. And then finally, somebody is at your funeral and they're describing you and how you lived your life and what kind of person you were and what you achieved, but mostly what you achieved by how you achieved it. In terms of the values that you lived out, did you do it nicely? Did you do it meanly? Did you do it slowly? Did you do it quickly? Did you do it, with a family? Did you do it by yourself? These kinds of values or whatever. And then you start to tease out these performance values or these life values. So that's a good model to start with. You might be able to find some things on Google. You can also go to mindgames.gg/LAN goals, which is a worksheet that I used to do this with some pro teams. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I have for you, John. I hope that your exploration of yourself is fruitful, and good luck. Okay, guys, that's the show. Make sure to check out the Mac program. Make sure to come to twitch.tv/mygamesweldon to catch the full show in its unedited, uncut glory. I'm going there now. Bye.